Israel is bracing for Iran's response to the assassinations of Hezbollah and Hamas leaders last week, while the United States is moving military assets into the region to deter Iran and assist Israel in defending against a counter-strike. Intelligence assessments indicate that Iran is preparing to attack Israel from multiple angles, using its regional proxies to launch waves of missiles, rockets, and UAVs from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and possibly Iran itself. But Israel is not just waiting for Iran to strike. In the last 24 hours, the IDF has carried out preemptive strikes on Hezbollah forces in Lebanon, and another high-level Hamas terrorist was eliminated in the Gaza Strip. The IDF has also begun to build outposts in the Netzer Valley in the Gaza Strip, as well as continuing the campaign to methodically destroy and dismantle the Hamas terror infrastructure. Meanwhile, the IDF and the Shin Bet are offering proof that an Al Jazeera journalist who was recently killed in the Gaza Strip was in fact a member of Hamas. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 303rd day of the war with Iran. It's time to acknowledge that the primary enemy in this war is Iran, while Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and all the other terror militias in Iraq, Syria, and elsewhere are just pawns and proxies for Iran. With that in mind, Iran is threatening harsh revenge for last week's assassination in Tehran of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, while Hezbollah promises revenge for the assassination of the organization's senior leader Fouad Shukar in Beirut. The Houthis in Yemen are still very angry about the attack on the port of Hodeidah and are threatening to join in an Iranian strike against Israel. But despite all the rhetoric and threats, it's difficult to know exactly how the situation will play out. The assumption in Israel is that an attack is inevitable, but there is still uncertainty regarding the timing of the attack and especially its scope. Israel is preparing for a number of scenarios, including some very difficult ones. At the same time, discussions are already taking place about what the response should be to whatever Iran does. There are also discussions about ways that Iran's plans can be preempted and possibly even halted. However, Israeli security officials believe that Hezbollah is looking for an opportunity to make a major strike on Israel, and Hezbollah officials are brazenly declaring that they won't limit their attacks to military targets. But Iranian officials who are planning an attack on Israel have a lot of calculations to make, and it's clear that the deployment of US forces on the region and the coordination between Israel and its allies is having an effect on their plans. Also, ongoing discussions between Israeli and American defense officials are aimed at coordinating efforts to contain the Iranian moves and deter both Iran and Hezbollah. American military assets are being moved into the region, and discussions are also being held with other allies, including moderate Arab states, to mobilize the assets that will be needed to defend against Iran's expected attack. The working assumption is that this attack will be much larger, more geographically widespread, and intense than the one that Iran launched in mid-April. Anyone who wants to understand what is happening right now and what might be about to happen next needs to understand a few key points right from the start. The state of Israel is currently fighting on several fronts and managing several different campaigns against different enemies. One is a regional campaign against Iran and its proxies, which is currently focused on response of the Shia axis led by Iran to the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil. An additional campaign is focused on Hezbollah's expected response to the assassination of the senior military figure in Beirut, Fouad Shukar, who could lead to an escalation of the war inside Lebanon. Another campaign involves a dialogue with the American administration, from which Israel is requesting militarily and political assistance in the other campaigns, while the United States President Joe Biden and his Vice President Kamala Harris are interested in ending the war with a political agreement for the release of the remaining Israeli hostages and a ceasefire before the United States elections in November. These are the main arenas in which the State of Israel is involved. As for the Iranians, in light of their failed attack in April they might try something different this time. Or they might simply do the same similar thing, but just fire a larger number of weapons in order to try and overwhelm the defense wall put up by Israel and the American, British, France, and possibly Arab coalition that are allied with the Jewish state. This second possibility appears more likely, especially if we listen to the statements by Iranian officials to Arab and Western media, and especially on the speech of Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah at Shukr's funeral over the weekend. According to these statements, the attack is planned to include all elements of the Shia resistance axis, starting with Hezbollah, as well as the Houthis in Yemen, and IRGC-led Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria. The rockets, the missiles, and UAVs from all of these different organizations are envisioned to be fired at Israel from 360 degrees all at once to overwhelm the air defense systems and break through the defensive wall of the Jewish state. This is the so-called ring of fire that Iran has built around Israel over the last several years, and we might be about to see it put to the test. It is also important to mention that the use of UAVs and cruise missiles give Iran the option to attack Israel from the west, as these weapons can be fired from Yemen, Lebanon, or Syria and fly out over the Mediterranean Sea before approaching the Israeli coast. However, in this context, it's important to mention that Egypt has declared that it will shoot down any weapons entering its airspace, and the United States and Israeli warships deployed in the Mediterranean Sea are also capable of intercepting such weapons. Another estimate from the intelligence echelon says that Iran's attack will attempt to challenge the Arrow systems, which are designed to intercept ballistic missiles at great distances from Israel's territory. Arrow 3 is capable of intercepting ballistic missiles in the atmosphere, whether launched from Iran or Yemen, from a range of 1,800 kilometers, and whether they are launched from Iraq or northeastern Syria, from a range of 800 kilometers. However, it is also assessed as being likely that Iran will order Hezbollah not to fire its largest missiles at Israel, saving them for another time. Iran knows that Israel will be forced to respond strongly to such a serious attack by Hezbollah, possibly even launching a war of annihilation against this Shiite group. Iran wants to keep Hezbollah intact so it can be used as an instrument to deter Israel from attacking Iran's nuclear program in the future. So, it is considered most likely that Hezbollah will participate in the strike, but not in its full capabilities. In Israel, everyone is making preparations to confront this threat. The IDF is working hard to plan the best way to defend against these attacks, and the civilian population is also making preparations, with the IDF Home Front Command issuing advice and instructions. At the same time, the IDF is continuing a campaign to hit the terrorist infrastructure of Hezbollah, destroying weapon stockpiles, assassinating key personnel, and otherwise preparing the ground. According to reports in Arab media portals, the Iranians are sending weapons to Hezbollah through the El Daba airport near the town of Fushair, in the border area between Syria and Lebanon. But over the weekend, this airport was hit by Israeli aircrafts, and according to reports in Lebanese media, convoys of trucks filled with weapons that had been loaded at the airport and will be on their way to Hezbollah were also hit. All of this has been reported in the Lebanese and Saudi media portals in the last 48 hours, and it shows the enormous efforts that Iran is making to set up an attack on Israel and Israel's efforts to thwart the Iranian plans. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to keep you updated on all of these developments going forward. You can help us by sharing our videos on YouTube, subscribing to this YouTube channel, and following us on social media. Switching our focus to the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, we get a lot of questions about how it came to be that this senior Hamas terrorist was eliminated on Iranian soil. Israeli officials neither confirm or deny that Israel is responsible for this assassination, and it is otherwise not making any comments about it. So all the available information is based on reports in foreign media portals. Based on these reports, Haniyeh was eliminated by an explosive charge which destroyed the room he was sleeping in at a house in the heart of one of Tehran's most secure neighborhoods. Once again, according to foreign news reports, Israeli agents hired Iranian security personnel to plant the explosives in the building weeks in advance. The original plan was to assassinate Hania in May when he attended the funeral of former Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, who was killed in a helicopter crash. But those plans were delayed because of concerns about harm to uninvolved civilians. The report claims that after the charges were placed in Hania's room, the security guards hired by Israel escaped Iran. Last Wednesday, at 2 a.m. local time, the charges were detonated while Hania slept in his room, leading to his elimination along with his bodyguard. Once again, we ask you to take an active part in spreading the truth. Support us, and if you'd like to receive more videos like this one, please click the donate button on YouTube or go to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. Back to the battle with Hezbollah. Israel is not waiting to be attacked, but is taking proactive steps to damage Hezbollah's ability to strike. Weapons depots, headquarters, and rocket launching sites are being hit every hour of the day and night. At the same time, individual field commanders and Hezbollah officials are being targeted for elimination, and several have fallen in recent days. This includes Ali Nazai Abed Ali, who is considered to be a central pillar of Hezbollah's strategy in southern Lebanon, who was taken out by an airstrike over the weekend. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update on any developments, but please continue to spread the truth. Subscribe, follow, and share, so that together we can give the truth its rightful place and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Switching our focus to the Gaza Strip, the IDF has built a series of outposts in recent days on both sides of the corridor in Gaza in order to stop Hamas from moving between the northern and southern sections of the Palestinian enclave. The IDF is constructing a series of outposts, some on the northern side and some on the southern side. Protected containers were brought into the outposts and defensive batteries were built. The IDF operates large forces in the area of the corridor, including several battalions. Despite the establishment of the outposts, the IDF continues to carry out active combat operations to destroy the remaining Hamas units in that area. Most of the IDF forces are engaged in these active raids, even as the defensive positions along the corridor are expanded in order to clear the area from Hamas and restore an orderly life to the civilian population. The raids often result in the discovery of tunnels, stockpiles of weapons and ammunition, and the elimination of terrorists. On that subject, a few days ago, newspapers around the world came out against Israel and the IDF for the assassination of Ismail El-Jaoul, an Al Jazeera journalist. But in the last 24 hours, the IDF published a Hamas document showing that he was an active member of the Nukhba force, and as far back as 2021, he was working as an engineer in the Gaza division of Hamas. The document was received from a Hamas computer that had been captured in the Gaza Strip and also contained the names of thousands of other members of Hamas. Now, we can once again switch our focus to events in Judea and Samaria. But before that, please take a minute and click the follow button and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that together we can give the truth its rightful place. Iran sees Judea and Samaria as a good place to build up its infrastructure to threaten Israel because it knows that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad groups it built in the Gaza Strip over the past several years have been almost entirely destroyed. The IDF is focusing efforts on countering Iran's buildup in Judea and Samaria, even as it continues to focus on finishing off Hamas in the Gaza Strip and bracing for an attack by Hezbollah in the north, as well as the other threats we discussed earlier, like Iran, the Houthis, and more. An IDF statement over the last 24 hours said that the intensity of security operations in Judea and Samaria is high, but it is not being reported on much of the local or international media reports because all the attention is being taken by the possibility of escalation with Iran. However, security operations continue and several terrorists have been eliminated and planned attacks against Israelis have been broken up. One such attack was stopped just as it was about to be launched, when a squad of terrorists in Tulkarem, north of Jerusalem, was identified by the Shin Bet and targeted for elimination by an airstrike. An IDF source said that this is a significant thwarting activity due to intelligence. and it was quickly followed up by counter-terrorism raids that resulted in other planned attacks being disrupted. The battle against terrorism in Judea and Samaria is continuous and ongoing, although we seldom hear about it. The Palestinian Authority-administrated cities of Tulkarem and Jenin and Nur al-Shams have been the scene of dozens of similar operations in the last 10 months since this war began, and hundreds of terrorists have been eliminated. Large stockpiles of Iranian-supplied weapons, explosives, and ammunition have also been captured in the course of these operations. The IDF and the Shin Bet are working hard to prevent Iran from building up terrorist networks in Judea and Samaria that could threaten the Israeli home front. It is an endless struggle that Israel cannot afford to lose. So please continue to spread the truth about what is happening in Israel. We are facing a difficult war against an extreme Islamic terrorist axis that wants to destroy the state of Israel and the Jewish people at any cost. Let's conclude today's report with some cheerful news from the Paris Olympics, where Israeli athletes had a fantastic weekend, bringing home several medals, including a gold medal won by windsurfer Tom Reuveni, which resulted in the Israeli national anthem being played for all the world to listen. So far, the Israeli team has won 6 medals, the highest medal count in Israeli Olympic history. This includes the gold medal won by Reuveni, silver medals won by Aitum Dolgofit in gymnastics, Sharon Cantor in sailing, and judo athletes Raz Hershko and Inbar Lanir, as well as Peter Plachik, who won a bronze medal in judo. These are the champions of Israel, who have brought Israel to a very respectable 21st place in the overall medal count, and the Olympics aren't over yet, so there might be a few more to come. We will continue to pray for this issue as well, but please continue to spread the truth, share, and follow us and subscribe to this YouTube channel. But most importantly, please pray. Please pray for Israel at this time, as we are preparing for an attack from multiple fronts. Please pray for the IDF soldiers. Please pray for the allies of Israel, for all those countries that are supporting us and are united with us in our defense. Please pray for all the civilians that are affected by this conflict. And please pray for the peace of Jerusalem.